So welcome back to the channel, guys. Today we have another review. It's going to be the OnePlus 10T. Now you can find this at T-Mobile, is where I personally purchased it. Of course, they have it on the OnePlus website. Phone varies in price, but so far, I want to go ahead and say $169. $649 for the regular base model, which is 128 gigs with 8 gigs of RAM. That is the model that we're discussing today, not the 16 gigabyte RAM version, the 8 gigabyte RAM version. Like I said, you can find it at T-Mobile. They're the only ones that sell it for contract carriers. Otherwise, you have to get it unlocked. So with that being said, let's hop right into this review. So I'm not even going to waste time with you guys. Not much came inside the box outside of the charger itself, which I do have to the side, which I'm about to show you in a moment. So it's not much. Any booklets or anything is inside of here, like a SIM card tray remover, whatever it's called. And this is the box itself. Let's go ahead and put this to the side right now. This is the actual charger itself. Now, just in case you're wondering, they did remove some features, which we're going to talk about, from the actual OnePlus device, which I'm about to show you in a moment, but they added some extra. So if the average OnePlus device charges at about 65 watts, like the 10 Pro or the 9 Pro, I think a 9T, there were so many models, 8T, things like that. This guy right here is 120 watts. I'm not joking. This is a 120 watt power brick. You can get from 0 to 100% in literally 20 minutes flat. Here's the cord. Of course, it's USB-C to USB-C. This seems to be the standard, and everything comes inside the box. They're one of the few companies left that actually leaves the charger inside of the box, which is necessary because remember, it's warp charging, and they're the only ones that have charging that fast, at least in the States. Now, the phone itself, on the other hand, is right here. This is the OnePlus device. As you can see, you're going to notice something is missing. The volume rocker, not the volume rocker, but the rocker that actually allows you to change the from vibrate to ring to silent. Apple is the only other company that has that outside of OnePlus. And well, I'm not gonna say they're the only company, but they're mainstream company is what I mean. And OnePlus decided to take that away, which was a huge feature and a turn off for a lot of people. Now, me personally, like I always say, I don't have an issue with that at all. Only given because you know, if you're used to coming from a Samsung device, a Motorola device, or anything else, they don't have that rocker that lets you change through vibrate and things like that. So it's not life or death for me. And because they took that feature away, they added, like we talked about, the 120 watt charging on the device. So I'm not mad about that in the slightest. I mean, you know, it's give and take. It is a budget device. Unfortunately, there's no wireless charging or anything like that. But we're going to talk about specs in a second. Let's just look at the design. So the camera, at first, when I first saw this, I was a little skeptical about this. I didn't like it initially. But once I saw it in person, I said, oh, the camera module doesn't look that bad. For you guys interested in getting this phone by T-Mobile, I want to let you know now, order your case off of Amazon, because a lot of T-Mobile stores, as of the date I'm recording this, do not have cases for this phone or tempered glass, which is very, very weird. But it is what it is. In addition to that, you might be looking at this glass wondering what this is. This is just a temporary tempered glass that I put on this until my case actually arrives. I wanted to keep it protected. So the fingerprint does work. Very responsive fingerprint. I have the settings here for you guys, so we can talk about specs in a moment. The screen resolution, it's not really that high, if we're being honest here. You could definitely tell that they use some premium parts, and you could tell that they skipped some areas, purposely making this cheaper for the price tag. Seemed like they wanted this to kind of go against the Samsung F8 and the Pixel 7. But the problem is that, actually, believe it or not, the Pixel is actually cheaper than this. And some people are going to go over the Pixel because of the design and the quality of it. But again, this feels, I'm not going to say it feels plasticky, but it doesn't feel as premium as, let's say, a Galaxy Ultra or an iPhone 14 or 14 Pro Max or something like that. It's not going to feel as premium in the back. I don't think this is glass. It doesn't feel like it. It feels like some type of, I don't even know what material to even call this, but it's a decent device so far. Just if you're just aesthetically looking at it, I do like it so far. Can't complain about that. The screen, I mean, it's okay. It's all right. All right. It's all right. It's okay. Put it that way. Like as I watch other reviews, I do understand what they mean when they said that this was the bare bones generic basic phone. I understand what they mean finally, but we'll get to that in a moment. But anyway, that is how the physical phone looks. As you see, the charger works here too. If you have a 65-watt charger for like a other OnePlus device, it would still do the fast charging. It's just going to charge a little bit slower than 120 watt, obviously. But with that being said, let's go ahead and hop on to the next section, which is going to be tech specs. So this section right here, we're going to talk a little bit about specifications. Let me go ahead to Chrome so you can see it along with me so you know what I'm talking about. So this is a 6.7 inch screen, 1020 by 2412, which isn't anything to really go crazy off of. That seems to be the standard for like mid-tier phones in terms of screen sharpness. It is an OLED screen, 50 megapixel camera, 8 to 16 gigs of RAM, and Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1. So this is a pretty up-to-date processor, as pretty up-to-date as you're going to get in current model phones. I will let you know how it actually equates to real-time usage though, because just because it's high-end doesn't mean that each company knows how to optimize it properly and make sure that the software runs correctly with it, which I did encounter a couple issues. 4800 mAh battery. This version is the 8 gigs of RAM like we talked about earlier. So let's go ahead and scroll down right here. And of course I'm using, I believe this is GSM Arena for the website. So as you can see, it was released actually August 6th, which to be honest, I thought that this was only a couple months old. Of course, I'm getting it for the first time, but it has been out for a little bit. One of the reasons why I actually did end up getting this is because T-Mobile had a sale where when you sign up for service, certain phones are $0 down or free for a certain amount of time if you have a particular plan, and that's what I signed up for. So you are going to have to go to your local T-Mobile store to figure out what it is that they have, because I could tell you the deals, but the problem is that it's based on your credit score. So, you know, I'll just leave that alone. But anyway, you have the Gorilla Glass in the front, so it is a plastic frame. So if I said it felt like Glastick, oh, it's a glass back. Oh, get out of here. See, I wasn't sure what this was, if this was glass or plastic. To me, it feels like a plastic back. I could be wrong. I mean, it says glass, so I'll just take their word for it, but it doesn't feel like it in the slightest. You have the 6.7 inch screen. It is 120 hertz, so that's a good thing. Nice and sharp and easy when it comes to navigation. Here's the problem: 1080 by 2412 pixels, 394 ppi. Now, if you go back to the OnePlus 9, that actually has a higher screen resolution. And that phone, I believe, currently is like the same price as this one, if not a little bit cheaper. And it just goes to show that it looks like they were cutting corners when they made this particular device. I don't know why they did that to the screen personally. But again, if you're trying to make this stand out for other cell phone devices in the same category, I don't really think that's ideal, because even though the Pixel has a sharper screen, the Pixel is like 90 hertz or so. So the hertz is lower, but they didn't sacrifice on the screen, while OnePlus sacrificed on the screen quality, but then they added 120 hertz, which is very stable. And they also, you know, just took away certain things that was completely unnecessary that I don't think would have affected the phone in the slightest. But anyway, the 394 for the PPI is not bad, but it's not the highest, especially for the high-end category. It's shipped for Android 12. You already know that this is definitely going to get probably Android 13, 14, a couple years worth of updates. I don't know how long they normally support these phones, and because this is the 10T, I don't know. I couldn't even tell you if it's going to be 2 or 3 years worth of software updates. We talked about the Snapdragon processor, but this is a Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1. Very good processor, it works so far. GPU is 730, Adreno 730, no card slot. And like I said, the version I have is 128 gigs and 8 gigs of RAM. There are other versions of this phone, so for you guys that may experience different quality in the phone itself, that's because you might have a non-US version or directly from the website or something. They can have 12 to 16 gigs of RAM, so keep that in mind. In addition to that, you do have the cameras, which do 4K up to 60 frames, up to 240 frames in 1080p. So it is a pretty decent camera, and we're going to do a camera test in a little bit. Now, of course, like I talked about before, it's USB-C, obviously fingerprint scanner, face unlock works very well. And lastly, most importantly, 125 watts. I got that wrong. So, oh no, charging 150 watt wired, 125 watts for 110. Okay, so But I believe my charger is 120 watts. So like I said before, just because certain specifications change a little bit online, is because of the different versions of the device. But the one I have is Metro by T-Mobile, so be aware of that when actually purchasing this device. So I have a sample for you guys right here for Call of Duty. I'm going to go ahead and go to the, just going to do a quick match real fast. Not a full match, just to show you how fast or how slow this phone is moving. Now it does have the one of the newest Snapdragon processors in there. I don't know how new it is since this phone has been out for a few months now, because you know there's always constantly processors coming out. In addition, when I say new, I'm referring to all the phones that have come out. What's the word I'm looking for here? Over the last couple months. And to be honest with you, I didn't have a problem with the processor. I didn't have a problem with the touch. I mean, it is a little laggy because of the internet. So don't think that the phone is bad. It's just the internet connection that's a little iffy. But I just wanted to show you guys how it operates, where it's actually very smooth. Though I will say that from time to time, I do have my little choppy moments on it, which isn't ideal if we're being honest here, especially if you're gaming. I didn't have this issue with the S21 FE. I have to compare it to that because they're both high-end devices close to the same price point. So, you know, just kind of be aware of that when I talk about that. But the device, I mean, so far it's not bad. I mean, you're able to play Call of Duty just fine. Other games like Genshin Impact work just fine on it. I did have a couple issues with Pokemon Go. Unfortunately, I'll show that. I guess I'll show you guys that one. The Pokemon Go incident that I had, where it was just a tad bit laggy for Pokemon Go. Whereas as if the frame rate couldn't keep up with the game, even though it's a 120 hertz phone, it's probably just not optimized properly. A lot of games aren't optimized properly. So, you know, as you can see, it works perfectly fine. So for those guys that are looking to play Call of Duty online, if you're used to touchscreen phones, oh, got him. You shouldn't. I think you're used to touchscreen phone. Yes, the game is touchscreen. What I meant was each touchscreen feels a little bit different than the last one, and that's because you know, it's not a super AMOLED screen. Well, certain ones are, certain ones aren't. It really depends on what it is that you're doing with your device. But anyway, I'll kill these guys real fast if I even can. I don't think I'll be able to. Yep, got him. Anyway, that is how Call of Duty is going to run. So it does run pretty well. It runs pretty good. I know I'm all over the place with this review, but I'm just playing the game as I talk. So there's that. And plus, my internet connection isn't that good where I work. So that's another reason why you're going to have a lag and stutter. But outside of that, it works very, very well for this session. So let's hop on to the next game.
We'll see.
So here's a sample for Pokemon Go. And as you can see, I'm scrolling around the screen. You can see how choppy it is. Like, it's not working very well for Pokemon Go at all. It's very, very laggy. And this is something that's very concerning for me, because as more and more games come out, remember, this is a 120 hertz screen. Now, when I use other devices, Samsung devices, even other lower end devices, A52, A53, whatever it is, it's not as choppy as this. Like, you could definitely tell that the optimization hasn't been done properly for a lot of the games on this particular device. Now, I don't know if that's a OnePlus issue in general, because I know that when I had the OnePlus 8T, I didn't have this problem. When I had the OnePlus 9, I didn't have 9. I had the 8T and the McLaren, the one where the 7, where what's it called? I forget what it's called, but the camera goes up and down and pops in and out of the phone. I didn't have these issues, and these were older phones. This is a 2022 phone that came out in August, and it's having these lackluster, laggy issues. Now, it does get better over time, as you can see, but if you compare this to the iPhones or a Pixel or practically any other device that's out, the touch is much more responsive than this by far, and it's just nasty. It doesn't feel good at all for certain video games. But what I will say, not the touch, the responsiveness to the actual application itself, the lag, that's what I meant to say. But, you know, it is what it is. There's nothing I can really do about that for now. What I will say is, over time, I do think there'll be updates to fix this issue. But most people, when you buy a phone, you want it to work. And for, you know, everyday applications that you may or may not use, this is not a smooth, clear experience, as you can see. Now, this one actually matters to me. Canva. This is one of the applications that I always talk about that I use on this device or on devices in general. And because of the fast processor, It's been running very, very fast. As a matter of fact, it ran much faster than my S21 FE for the most part. Of course, the problem is that this requires a data connection, Canva. That's why it takes longer for some of these things to load. But what I will say is that it just loads. It's just a faster, more smoother experience with this phone because of the processing power and the speed than my S21 FE. I'm comparing it to that because around, like I said, they're around the same price range. So if you're one of those people where you're doing video edits, music, different things like that, this definitely has a processor that can handle it without any issues whatsoever. When it comes to loading these applications, as you can see, it works fine. It works great. And the 5G, well, I'm in 4G right now, and I switched it over to 4G. I forgot because not everybody gets a stable 5G connection. A lot of devices have 4G connections and 4G LTE, and they still work better than 5G. So it is what it is. But like I said before, it works very well. As you can see, I'm doing this. Let me not do the gallery. I'm doing the screen recording with it. So this right here is how the camera is going to look. You know, you're going to hear wind blowing in the background and noise. So I just want to kind of show you that it is recording in 4K. But if you notice how the camera jumps a little bit, to be honest, the stabilization for this isn't that great. Granted, the clarity is really good. As you can see, vehicles going into the peripheral. Well, more than peripheral. They went to the entire picture. It just doesn't feel as sharp as, you know, a traditional Samsung devices. If you're a photo head, this phone is good enough to do that. But what I will say is, obviously, because of the price tag, you can go ahead and get an S21 FE. You can get a Pixel 7. You can get a Pixel 7 Pro if you're willing to go a couple more dollars. And you can get phones that actually specialize in video and whatnot. And this one, honestly, like I said, it's not bad. It's not bad for my YouTube channel, but I do notice the difference in quality, the dip whenever I'm using it. So that being said, let's record in a more quiet area. It's actually cold out here. So to be honest with you, like I was saying before, if you've seen any of my other videos, you know that I normally use a S21 FE 5G for my camera, but because I switched devices, I'm no longer using that. I'm using the OnePlus 10T. So this is the second video recording that I'm doing for you guys at a more quiet area. So if you hear an echo or anything, it's because I'm in a huge hallway. There's nothing I can do about that particularly. But just to show you how it feels, how it moves, how it turns, the frame rate, you can see the dip in frame rate where it's not consistent, where if you have like Ultra HD for other devices, it's so much sharper. Now, what I will say is that this is under 4K right now. I'm going to try it under a different setting for you guys to see if I can get the frame rate more stabilized. But if you're using it under 4K, this is how it's going to look. It does have issues on occasion with, I guess, focusing, you could say, where it'll blur for a moment and then refocus. So again, it's not the most high-end camera. And again, because of that price tag, it's hard to really justify this purchase only because of the price tag. Normally, I would say this phone should definitely be cheaper. Let's go ahead and do one more recording and then we'll go from there. So it looks like the front camera can only record in 1080p. It doesn't say 4K when you change the options. I'm not sure if it's 60 frames or not, but it's not bad. Like the front camera actually seems more stable than the back camera, in my opinion, when it came to doing videos. Like the last video that I posted on the channel, I actually recorded with that camera, and I could definitely tell a difference in the quality of just how the animations were, the smoothness, the textures. It's iffy, but what I will say is that it's not bad. You can see stuff behind me. It does a good job of focusing on me in addition to everything behind me without blurring in and out. So for you FaceTime users and you selfie guys or selfie ladies, you're going to have no problem with that. So right here we have a couple still photos that I took just to show you guys. And if you look at the clarity of the photo, I mean, they look very, very good. Like I said, the OnePlus is not a bad device at all. It's, you know, taking pictures of moving vehicles on purpose. And again, it works very, very well. The problem that we have here is, and we're just taking pictures in the elevator. The front camera looks good, like I talked about. The back camera isn't bad when it comes to still photos. As you can see, these are some of the photos right here, just to get an idea of how it looks. It's not bad. It's not bad at all. But what I will say is, if you're comparing it to Samsung, Samsung, Google, or Apple, you're just going to get a better experience when it comes to photos. Really, the only real redeeming feature for this phone outside of the processor is the fact that it can charge in 20 minutes. And when you take that away, to me, it just feels like the average high-end phone with no real bells and amenities, and it doesn't wow you by any means or any stretch of the means. So with that being said, like I said, the camera looks good, photos look good, selfies look great in my opinion. I purposely took it in different lighting so you can see the difference if you use the flash or if you don't use the flash. As you can see, each person, depending on your location, you'll be able to determine how to change the settings. Remember, everything that I took was in regular settings, the sharpest that it could possibly be initially. And, again, if you're happy with the quality, which I am, I'm perfectly fine with it. There you go. But if you're a photo master, you're going to want a Pixel, you're going to want an iPhone, you're going to want a Samsung device because they have better editing software built into the phone regular. So to be honest with you, after doing all the different tests, it's not a bad phone. It's not a bad phone at all. I do understand, like when I watch reviews on it, typically I watch other reviews to make sure I don't miss anything that I want to talk about. And obviously it has NFC and many features that I did not mention, but this is just for the average person, in my opinion, that watches these videos that are saying sometimes they just want something that has a good camera, they want something that does good videos, they want something that has a good processor, and they want to be able to charge their phone and they're happy. Not everyone is going to use every feature in every phone, and some people will love this. Personally, the only issues that I really had with it was that the touch wasn't as responsive as, let's say, a Galaxy S21 FE 5G, where I felt like the response or the screen didn't feel as swipey, didn't feel as nice when I did this is good. The screen is good, it's fast, the 5G is ideal. Everything about this works very well, but it's the bare bones generic Android, where it feels like if you just was to open up a Motorola phone from Metro by T-Mobile, that's what you get out of this. It's because it's not much software when coming from an Apple device, or if you're coming from a Samsung device that actually has themes and different things, you're going to notice you're missing a lot in terms of just customizability. Now, versus if you go to the settings, there's a lot of things that you could change. It has its own dedicated gaming mode and recording mode and things like that exclusive to OnePlus. Those are cool features. The problem is that the price tag. Now, again, $649 or whatever for this phone is, in my opinion, too much. I would have dropped it down to about $449 to $499. And the reason I say that is because the Pixel 7 base 7 is $499 or $599. $599. Here we go. This could have been $450. It could have been, like I said, $500. Even $549 would have been more ideal, only on the simple fact that it doesn't have wireless charging. Now, granted, that's not a huge feature for me. That is a standard, generic, basic feature. I wouldn't have cared if they put wireless charging into this and it charged 5 watts and took 2 hours. It didn't matter. They didn't bother doing that. And you're putting this in flagship next to other flagship phones. That's the problem. The screen resolution isn't that high, where the PPI is only 3 something, when the average phone, even the FE, I think had like 400 something PPI. The previous OnePlus, the 9, had like 500 and something. So it's almost as if you took features away to try to bring the price down to justify throwing in a 120 watt charger for this device, which this is a very cool feature. But most of us would have been fine with 65 watts. That still would have been, what, 45 minutes or so to charge from 0 to 100% versus 20 minutes to charge from 0 to 100. Now, that 20 minutes, trust me, I've charged my phone up. I've done edits on this thing. I do all types of work on this phone. Canva, as you saw in the video, everything worked just fine. And because it charges so fast, I'm able to get right back into the fray. Now, I don't know how that's going to affect the battery life overall over time, but that's the whole purpose of having insurance for these types of phones. And like I said, if this was cheaper, I would definitely say absolutely. But because it costs a little more than what I think it should cost, I mean, it's not, like I said, it's not a bad phone. This is what my daily driver that I'm going to use every single day. I was normally a Metro by T-Mobile user, but I just went back to T-Mobile because they do have faster internet speeds, and that's what I was there for. And I need, I can't sit by a charger for 45 minutes to get 50% or 60% when I'm constantly doing edits. I'm always on a run. This phone is necessary for me, but I am giving up quite a few features that I had under Samsung to basically use this. Also the camera, you saw the camera, it's not the highest end in the world. Personally, I think the S21 FE, what I came from, actually what I'm recording from right now, to me has a better camera. And it's not even on the highest setting right now. I'm using my wife's phone. It's not even on Ultra HD. It's like on Full HD or something like that, 60 frames. So it's not even the highest that it can be right now. But it just goes to show that you can definitely tell which company is putting more effort when it comes to their cameras. But anyway, I'm not going to bash this anymore. I do like the device. It's a decent device. Do I wish the price was a little bit cheaper? Absolutely. Can you get something around this price range that's going to be a little bit better? Processor wise, not so much. But again, the Google Pixel is literally $599. It's actually a cheaper device. And if you have OK credit or whatever it is, the EIP is going to be lower too because of the price of what you're paying for. So you're getting a Pixel phone, which is going to have better software support. It's going to last longer. Now, battery life on that Pixel is terrible from what I hear. And that's one of the reasons why I picked this guy up, because I was like, battery life means everything to me. But, you know, you saw it when it played Pokemon Go. It was a little laggy. It has its issues. Like certain applications aren't fully optimized on this software. I think that they can fix that problem very easily. And when enough people complain, they'll do it. But for the most part, everything works. I don't think you'll have a bad experience with this. It's pretty bare bones and generic and easy to use. It doesn't have much bloatware. It's ideal for those that just want super fast charging, no nonsense, and they just want to use their phone for daily life. But anyway, let me know what you guys think. Like always, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.